What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review, coming out of Long Island, New York. We got my brother, my man, our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, man. It's just myself and Al tonight. No B, no Sanj. They're enjoying the summer vacations.
That's what I was doing last week, man. So I hear them.
Welcome back, Al. Welcome back. Yeah. Hey, by any chance, man, did you get to watch the Jurassic World out there?
Nah, we
too busy.
Yeah, we ended up doing the parks the whole time, and
that's
as
awesome.
Much as the heat would allow us. Yeah,
I got you, man. Yeah, man. So listen, guys, we're gonna get you guys ready for Thor: Love and Thunder this week. That's the big movie of this week. The next chapter in the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So today's episode is dedicated to Thor, man, one of our favorite heroes in the MCU that's been there from the beginning since MCU Phase 1. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about Thor 1, Thor 2, which is Thor the Dark World, Thor 3, which is Thor Ragnarok. But before Thor Ragnarok, wasn't there Avengers and Age of Ultron that he was in as well? Then we're going to get into the Endgame and Infinity War. And again, get you guys ready for Thor Love and Thunder and what we're possibly going to see in this movie, and just kind of talk about our favorite moments with this guy, because Chris Hemsworth, let's just talk about him first, being Thor. Now, he's another one of these Marvel actors that came out of nowhere. Like, I think I've seen him in other movies before he was Thor, but he was never anything major. I remember seeing him in a race car movie. I can't remember the name. I think it was called Drive or something, or Schumacher, something like that. He was in an F1 movie.
Yeah, and the earliest I remember, and Sanj would probably be able to confirm it. He was what's his name's father in Star Trek.
That's right. He was Captain Kirk's
father.
Dad.
Yeah. He died in the beginning of the movie.
That's right. And before he was Thor, really not a big name character, but after this Thor and Chris Hemsworth, he's been in other things like Extraction. He's been in. Mm-hmm. He has this new thing on Netflix called Spiderhead.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, really, I got to check that out.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what's your thoughts on Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of Thor? You know, going from first one to where we left off now, like, he's trying to change.
Yeah, it's a big change. Actually, you know what? I wanted to see where he made the change, and it's Thor Ragnarok, because once Taika Waititi took over, that character completely changed. Because I over the weekend, I rewatched Age of Ultron, and he was still the serious, godly Thor, where he was more serious than anything.
Right.
And it wasn't until Ragnarok where he took on more of this comedic tone. Mm-hmm. But it just says a lot about Hemsworth that he can play both of those styles for the same character, and it didn't really feel off. It didn't feel like it's a different character. It just felt like a progression of the same person.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I remember the serious Thor from Avengers: Age of Ultron. It was like almost like we were laughing, not at him, but it was like the things he was saying, things he was doing, we were laughing because it was kind of funny the way he would say it, like Loki's the adopted brother, because he was killing Matt, because he had mass murders in the first Avengers there. And there was a lot of things like that, but he does come off like this just big brute who just was nonsense. But then I think they went a complete left, and that was for Chris Hemsworth, because apparently he was getting bored of playing that role of so serious with the, the long hair and all this stuff. Like, there was really he claimed like there was no personality to Thor. And I could kind of see what he was talking about. But I got to tell you, Al, I think I liked the older Thor more than I've liked Thor Ragnarok Thor. Like, I felt like Thor Ragnarok Thor is too comedic. And as much as a lot of people loved Thor Ragnarok and thought it was hysterical, there was parts of it where I was just like, dude, I'm over the jokey jokes, like it was fun and it was cool, but I didn't think I enjoyed it as much as I did the first Thor, or Thor's character or portrayal in Infinity War, or even Endgame. Endgame, he was super serious a little bit there because of the stuff that he was dealing with as far as the way he handled his depression. Yeah. But at the same time, man, I mean, he still was Thor. He had his moments. But Thor Ragnarok, I don't want to say it was complete jokey, because in Thor Ragnarok, a lot of things happened to him. He was, I think he lost the Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Meow-Meow. He lost Meow-Meow. I think his dad died in that one. His mom
Yeah.
died in Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's a couple of
Lost an
things
eye.
going on, man.
Yeah.
But like, what's your take on Thor Ragnarok, Al? Because I remember that's when the big real change happened, and Thor Ragnarok was right before Infinity War.
Yeah.
But I feel like Thor Ragnarok was the real change in Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, a lot had happened, and I'd have to rewatch Ragnarok and to see how much they portrayed those incidents having that kind of impact to justify the change or to explain the change in him
Right.
as to why he became more lighthearted. Because to your point, he loses his mother, he loses his father. His relationship with his brother is still strained. He fights
Right.
his aunt in this movie. so, so no, not even his aunt, his
No, it was his
sister.
sister, older
Yeah, it's
sister.
his
Yeah.
sister. So, like, that family dynamic, yeah, took, I can imagine it having an impact on him and maybe changing him as he's going through those experiences.
Right.
The funny thing is, though, you would think that it would take someone who was more lighthearted and make them serious, as opposed to where with him it took him from being serious and made him more lighthearted.
Right.
It brought more of the jokes, and it would
Mm.
explain that you said that the actual actor is the one who wanted to bring more of that lightheartedness out.
Right.
But when you think of it event wise, it kind of, like, to me, it would be weird. Okay, you have all these experiences, you don't show somebody consoling you, and yet you find humor. Like,
Yeah.
it kind of threw me off in that sense. But again, the way he portrays Thor never took me out of any of the movies. Like, it
No.
never bothered me,
Yeah.
with him all of a sudden being more comedic, more humorous, more jokes. It didn't really bother me.
Yeah. And it's funny, Al, if you think about it, Thor was supposed to be Tom Hiddleston at first.
Yeah, no,
And then they gave it to Chris Hemsworth. And it's funny because you look at Tom Hiddleston as our Loki, and he's like the perfect Loki. I think
yeah,
he's I think up there as far as like characters in the MCU that are like just amazing at that character's Loki. He's
hmm,
amazing. I can't really see him as Thor, and Chris Hemsworth just embodies what Thor is. I mean, he
yeah,
puts in the work and the working out. Like, I remember the first Thor when he was just I think he always has a shirtless scene in these Thor movies, and of course we've all seen the trailers for Thor: Love and Thunder, where he's gonna have another. It's beyond shirtless now. It's like he's butt naked now. In the freaking trailer, he's gonna. I think Zeus is gonna blow
yeah.
his clothes
He
off or
flicks
whatever.
him. He
Yeah,
flicks him, and he goes, "You flick too
you flick
hard."
too hard. So I'm like, this guy got to give it to him, man. He's putting in the work. He looks. If there's a Thor, it's him. Like
Yeah,
that's Thor. Don't I can't picture anybody else really playing that role and
yeah.
doing that job that he does there.
No, definitely
Um,
perfect casting there.
yeah, man. And let's talk about like another character that's going to be in Thor: Love and Thunder, which is kind of already given away. Which I kind of wish they didn't tell us. It would have been a surprise, but it's hard to keep anything a surprise anymore with the MCU with the amount of
Yeah,
leaks and everything. But that's Natalie Portman's character.
yeah.
She's playing the mighty Thor, but her
Hmm.
character, Al, what's the character's name in the
Jane
story?
Foster.
Jane Foster.
Yeah,
And she's back from. I think we haven't seen her since. Well, we haven't really seen her since Thor: Dark World,
yeah,
but they kind of like had her in Endgame a little bit with just like a couple of scenes of her like turning, or like I
yeah,
think they used cut film from Thor:
yeah. I think
Dark
they used
World.
unused footage or something. They cut it
Right.
back into the movie.
Right. So she was in Endgame, but not really in Endgame.
Yeah.
But they brought Jane Foster back and as Natalie Portman. Of course, Natalie Portman, fantastic actress. I can only hope for the best in her scenes. She looks
Hmm.
incredible in the trailers. What's your hope for Natalie Portman?
No, I hope, like you said, she's. I don't think. I mean, there's been maybe one or two movies she's done that I would say her acting was questionable.
Right.
I mean, I go back with her to The Professional.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
old school.
yeah, okay. So she's got a lot of a vast body of work. I mean, you have the Black Swan, where I think she did a
Oh, she
great
killed
job.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's definitely has the talent. I hope the script gave her something to use her talent on. Um, and I like the fact that they brought the female Thor, the mighty Thor, into
Right.
the MCU. Um, and to see that dynamic play out between the two of them. I mean, I don't know if they're going to bring all of the story about the Mighty Thor into this
Right.
from the comics, but it was great to bring her back. I was sad to see that they didn't use her more after Dark World
Right.
because I thought she would have had a big impact on Thor's story arc for some of these movies.
Right.
Especially Endgame, when in the beginning he's dealing with not having made the right decision supposedly of not going for the head. Um, and would we have had? But then again, I think she blinked, right? Or
She's
she
definitely
blipped.
one of the people who was dusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like to have had her character stay in the story, I think would have been better. Hopefully, I wish they would have been able to work that out.
Hmm.
Not sure. I don't think I've read as to why she stopped after Dark World in terms of coming back into these movies as Jane Foster.
Right.
Um, but it's a great character, a great part of the story of Thor so far in the MCU. So it was good bringing her back. But I wonder, are we getting more Thor after this?
See, that's the thing. I don't think anybody really knows for sure. I feel like they're going to take a break with some of these actors for a while until they get to what we think is eventually going to be Secret Wars. And then they'll have some kind of a big scene where he just shows up and helps. I can't really see him in anything else besides possibly Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah,
if he really is going to be part of this team now going forward. Or I'm not sure how their role is going to be in the movie. My thought is going to be a short cameo in the beginning of the movie, but we'll see.
yeah,
But that's the only thing I can see him in is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then whenever this big event that we're leading up to is going to be, and it seems like it's going to be some kind of war with either Kang or
yeah.
Secret Wars is going to be one
Hmm.
of the things.
Yeah, because when you look over the time frame for the movies that
Hmm.
he's been in a MCU movie every year or two.
Right.
So to not have him going forward is going to be so to speak, as this expression says, a big shoes to fill because
Hmm.
he's been one of the most repeated characters in these movies.
Right. It's funny because everyone says Cap and Iron Man were the main reasons why people love the MCU, but they always forget that third one, man. I still remember the scene where it was Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor walking up to Thanos, and
Yeah,
in Endgame, and I'm like, that's the Trinity right there, dude.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Those are the three guys, and to see that Thor's the only one that's still around is kind of nuts.
Hmm.
But that's what makes it, I think, so much more interesting for me to see what's going on now after Endgame. Like, what's the next thing that happens to him? Because I feel like everything we've watched so far from Phase 4 has kind of like just not glanced over Endgame, but kind of like just like, let's go, move forward, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's really been like, hey, what happened right after Endgame? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
People mention it in the these Marvel shows that they have on Disney Plus, but it's not like the continuation from the story we all know and love so far.
Hmm.
So I'm very interested in seeing what's going on with that there.
Yep.
I guess the next thing, Al, in regards to Thor: Love and Thunder that's coming up is we have some other characters like Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie that's going to be in this movie,
Hmm.
and I believe Korg, which is played by Taika Waititi as well, is going to be in this movie. We'll see if
Yeah.
Meek makes it. But besides those guys, is there anybody else you're looking forward to seeing in this movie?
I wish there would have been a way. I mean, I don't know how you do Thor without doing Loki. So
Yeah.
I wish there would have been a way that they could have brought him. And who knows, maybe there's a surprise cameo of Loki in the movie.
Right.
Um, I'm just, yeah, I don't know how you do Thor and you don't do Loki.
Right.
I mean, granted, I know, well, they'd have to bring the variant Loki in. It wouldn't even be Loki.
Right.
But yeah, the Loki character is the one I would have liked to have seen in this movie.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to well, not, I mean, not hard, but it's gonna be difficult to kind of see a whole movie without Loki when it's always
Hmm.
been a part of anything Thor's been in.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going on there, man. It should be interesting because I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little Loki cameo real quick. Who
Yeah.
knows? But at this point, I think they're kind of in the thought process that they've done that and they're ready to move on from Loki and Thor and let Loki have his own thing going on in the background with the Loki series. And then we have Thor just doing his own thing, like moving on forward from where they last left off. Because if I'm correct, where they last left off, half of Asgard is dead, but they're
Basically.
also reviving themselves in America
Hmm.
is it Norway?
Yeah, I think so. Or
Right?
Nova Scotia, maybe.
Maybe I know they created a new Asgard. They're called
Yeah,
so New Asgard, and it looks in the trailers that it's becoming like a Disney World, which is they're gonna have to explain that, or they're gonna just do the shit that they did in Doctor Strange, just walk on by like, yeah, we're
yeah,
just a new form of Disney World out here now,
yeah.
New
Let's see what
Asgard.
those changes are, because remember when he left her in charge, she said, "Oh,
Hmm.
there's going to be some changes." So
Right.
I'd really like to see what those changes were.
Yeah. So I believe he named Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie the
Hmm.
king of Asgard, right?
Yeah.
If I'm correct. So she'll be the king of Asgard. And last we left off with Jane Foster, she was dusted, and then she's back, and we'll see how her story kind of plays into how she comes back.
Hmm.
Thor, last we left off was Big Bro Thor.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on that like decision to make Thor turn into this big guy because of the way he handled his depression of not going for the head that he overate? He gave
No,
up on working out.
I thought it humanized him. I mean,
Yeah,
granted, I know he's supposed to be a god, but it actually, it humanized him. It showed that he, just like the mere mortals of Earth, depression can kick your ass, and
yeah,
sometimes it'll show physically. And in his case, whatever he was doing to maintain himself, he stopped doing. He was just brooding and distracting himself with video games,
right.
apparently. So so
Noob
drinking.
master.
So drinking, eating, and just laying around
Right,
took its toll on his body, and it showed. So I thought that was a funny yet realistic reaction of what would happen to someone that was going through that level of depression.
right.
um, and to see that it affected even someone of his stature and nature,
Hmm.
to me, it humanized them, and it made it relatable to somebody who would say that they've been through something similar, for as much as you can go through something similar,
Right.
but and say, we all go through this, and now this movie is a great come up afterwards to show, now this is how you can bounce back.
How you get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me and Thor have that in common. We all just let go at some point. So now I can compare myself to Chris Hemsworth in some
there,
form of fashion.
there you go.
Yeah, man. And let's talk about the last big thing about Thor, which is Stormbreaker and
Mhm.
Mjolnir. Man, it looks like we're gonna get Mjolnir is either fixed in this time frame or he has it somehow. Because I mean, the last time we saw Mjolnir was Endgame when Cap used it,
Yeah.
but it was one of the things Cap was gonna bring back with him as well because he had it with him when he was
Yeah.
gonna go back in time to return the stones.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like I don't know. I can't wait to see that. See how he gets Mjolnir back in place, or if Jane Foster makes Mjolnir come back somehow, some way. But
Hmm.
which out of the two weapons there is there one that stands out to you more that you like?
I mean, I would have to go with Stormbreaker only because it has the Bifrost built into it. So
Right.
it eliminates his need for, or lack of ability for, getting around.
Mm-hmm.
Now he can just transport himself. But I am interested in seeing the new abilities for Mjolnir that they give it, because apparently she projects stuff out of it now in one of the scenes
Oh
in
no, it
the
breaks
trailer.
apart. It breaks
Yeah.
apart back like because it's already broken. So she uses it as it breaks apart and then it forms back together again.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to look at it and use the machine, use the
Mm-hmm.
the Mjolnir there. Meow
Yeah.
meow. I wonder if Kat Jennings is going to be in this one. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, she's another character who I think gets doesn't get the attention they deserve, because I
Right.
mean, in WandaVision, I think her
She did
character
great.
was a great addition. So
Yeah. Definitely, man. So I
yeah,
mean, listen, we're all interested in this stuff, man. I definitely need to see Stormbreaker kick some ass with the way he uses it,
yeah,
and again, a hopeful thing for all us Thor fans from the comic books. Listen, we all read comic books. Well, not all. Most of us read comic books that love these MCU movies. And one of the big things about Stormbreaker is that it was used by, oh my god, I can't remember the guy's name. Horse
oh,
face.
the one that his head was on the statue in
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
yeah. Oh my
Oh,
god, I can't believe like
Something Bay. Oh man, you're
Jesus.
gonna make me
So
go crazy.
crazy. Isn't it funny? Like when you think about it all day long and then you can't
Oh, right
recall
when
it.
you go to say, that's the
Oh,
worst one. Right when you go to say
right
it.
with yeah, man. But oh, Better Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill. There you go.
Beta Ray Bill, Better Ray, yeah, BETA Ray Bill. So I mean, we've been hoping for Better Ray Bill or Beta Ray Bill for the lost, like the last like 3, 4, 5 episodes that we see Thor in, and
Hmm.
it's like never happened. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we finally going to see Better Ray Bill? Your thought?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, for there to be that tease in Ragnarok, and you are bringing back Jeff Goldblum's character, so
Mm,
he is going to get a cameo. There would be a great opportunity to bring in Beta Ray Bill
right,
and show him maybe as one of the old champions that this guy brings back because Hulk and Thor left. And
right.
he needed somebody to entertain him or continue whatever was going there. So he brought back an old champion. And then you have Beta Ray come into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that'd be cool. If even just to put him on the screen as a hint towards something potential in the future,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, that'd be something great to see.
Gotcha, man. All right. I mean, listen, and in order to get people kind of like hyped up for Thor again, let's kind of talk about some of our like memorable scenes with Thor, whether it's in the first one, second one, Ragnarok, or Endgame, or Infinity War, or even Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. He's been in all those movies.
Yeah.
Is there any standout moments, or how many moments for you that stand out? Is there one that you could think of in particular when you think of
One that
Thor?
I guess one that didn't hit me until I rewatched it was in Age of Ultron when he kind of like created all this because if you remember, he made um what's his name,
Vision?
Vision. Because remember, they were all trying to stop Tony from creating a Vision,
Right.
and they had to like turn off the power down and everything, and
Wasn't it like
then
at 50%, something like that?
yeah, and then you had Thor come in and finish off the job of helping create Vision and
Right.
bringing him the Mind Stone and everything to reality and
Mm-hmm.
informing everybody of Thanos and the stones and what was coming. So, you know, I it wasn't until then that I think we took the turning point towards the Infinity Saga the way we had it.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't
No, go for it.
no, so I was just saying I didn't realize the significance of that moment
Mm-hmm.
until I rewatched Age of Ultron.
Right.
So it makes me want to rewatch some more of these movies to see those little scenes that now in retrospect mean so much more.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, for me, the only movie I really don't have like a real like memory of, or like I mean, I have a memory of what happened in Thor Dark World, but I can't think of anything like huge that he did or that was like stood out special besides like the way he fell for Loki dying in the the fake death scene that he had with Loki, how
Yeah.
he reacted to losing his brother. But I do recall the one thing that always stands out to me in Thor 1 was when he figured out, or not figured out, but kind of like felt like he wasn't worthy because he was in the rain with
Hmm.
the hammer stuck on the floor. He was trying to pick it up, and Hawkeye was the first time we saw Hawkeye who was about to take him out with an arrow. And I just remember like, dude, like the way he was trying to pick it up, like, dude, I was like, this guy's fucking ripped. This guy's fucking ripped. He's trying to pick up something from the ground. I'm like, this is fantastic acting. This is great acting. Because look at it. He's dude. If that's like something like I want to emulate, like pretend like I'm picking up something, and every fucking cut of my muscles are showing. It was amazing.
Okay.
Another one that stands out to me is, dude, the love hate relationship in Avengers, the very first one with him and Hulk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dude, I don't know how that shit started, but dude, it's funny from beginning when they fight in the air carrier, and it's
Okay.
funny at the end when they're on top of the big monster,
Yeah.
and he looks at Hulk like, "Yeah, we just did this," and the Hulk just,
Boom.
yeah, man,
Okay, and it continues, and it's funny that you say that back and forth because it reminds me of one of the funniest scenes for me
uh huh,
was in at the end of Infinity War where Thor finally returns and he comes crashing down,
right.
and you have Mark Ruffalo in the Hulkbuster outfit, and he goes, "Oh, you guys are so screwed now." So to have that switch where he becomes now his cheerleader,
Right.
it just shows you how much there is in these movies, the relationships between them, and it's funny that you
Yeah.
brought up that dynamic, because that was one of the scenes when you asked, "What do you remember of Thor?" That was
Mm-hmm.
one of them that came to mind.
Gotcha, man. And you know what? I also will never ever forget is the minute I realized that Thor was the shit was Infinity War when he arrived in Wakanda with Groot and Rocket Raccoon,
Yeah,
and when they're it looks like the Avengers are going to eat it with all these freaking monsters coming after them from the ships, from the Black Order, was it?
yeah.
So they're all fighting and everything, and then it just seems like it's just unbelievable. Even Captain America's being overwhelmed, Black Panther's being overwhelmed by these monsters, and then all
Hmm.
of a sudden you just see the rainbow circle forming, and then all of a sudden he comes out, bring me Thanos. Oh, dude, that's my I love that, dude.
Okay.
And I just remember the crowd, like, we go to the opening nights for these things, so you get the crowds that are really into the movies. And I just remember thinking, like, yeah. And the whole crowd losing it when he showed up. And I was like, Thor's the shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh man. How about for you when Thor went up against Thanos and he threw Stormbreaker at him and it caught him on his chest? Yo, dude.
You talking about Endgame?
Yeah, no, Infinity War.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And he kept just pushing it in and pushing it. Yeah.
Oh man, he
I thought
wanted
he
that
had him. I thought the
revenge.
movie was over, kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when we saw the movie, right, I for a second there thought, I'm like, oh shit, he's not gonna do the snap. That's kind of crazy.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then he's
Yeah. I was confused. That's why that ending really was good the way they set it up.
dude, it was awesome. And then he looked at him, he should have went for the head.
And oh, yeah, kid. No, and then it just showed how. But it's funny how something like that will stick with you, because in the beginning of Endgame, that's all he kept trying to do.
Right, go for
Like
his
when
head
they
every
finally
time.
fought, he all he did was keep trying to go for the head.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy, man. Oh man, I mean, is there any other scenes that stand out to you regarding Thor, like from either from Endgame or any other
No, I
things?
mean I'm trying to remember Dark World to see if there was anything with that movie, but
Right, right. Isn't it
yeah,
bad? Dark World
like
it kind
there's
of just kind
nothing.
of like a blur what Dark World was. It just I
Yeah,
knew that the Aether,
yeah,
the Aether. Come on, man. What and
yeah.
what it was the Red Stone, which was what
Reality.
the Reality Stone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of like I don't know about
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
How's
No.
that floaty shit going to turn into a gem? I still like. I'm going to give you it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, yeah. So no,
I,
but in terms of Thor, yeah, and that's the funny part is that Thor, he's more. And to your point, like they made everything about Cap and Iron Man,
right.
and even though Thor was always around, like
Mhm.
I don't feel like he was the center of anything except that was pivotal. So even though yeah, I consider him part of the Trinity,
Mhm.
like there wasn't like when it came time for a decision, I don't feel like he was part of that. Like it
No,
always came down to Iron Man and
Cap and
Cap
Iron Man.
debating it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like in the beginning, like I think Thor always came across as just the brute of the team.
Yeah.
He just came and fucked shit up, and that was it. He'd always
Hmm.
come in with Stormbreaker, Mjolnir, and just beat up a bunch of people. And I love his like back and forth with a lot of the Avengers, and that's why I'm a little like, I wonder how this is gonna go. Right? He's gonna be basically like the whole time going back and forth with Korg.
Hmm.
He might have a couple scenes there with Valkyrie and also with Jane Foster there, but I can't envision any of the other like. I can't wait to see him with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like,
Yeah.
can we just admit that him at the end of Endgame talking about you're in charge, you're in charge, you're in charge, sure, that as Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah. Okay, that was a lot. That's. I wish they had made that movie before they made Thor.
right,
I would have liked to have seen an as Guardians of the Galaxy movie
right,
before Thor and before Guardians 3. Like
yeah,
even if it was like one of these Disney Plus specials, I would have liked to have seen them on a few missions,
right.
just showing that dynamic, that back and forth, because he has great comedic timing.
Oh
You put
yeah,
him with Chris
Chris
Pratt and
Pratt, are you
have them
kidding me?
bounce off each other. Oh, I would have loved to have seen that, even for just a special, and then have that explain
Hmm.
why whatever their dynamic is in the beginning of Thor. because I think Thor, the beginning of Thor, I think we're just going to get like a montage
Right. Yeah.
to
Same here.
explain. Yeah, to
Same
explain
here.
like him going through what he's going through, what
Right.
happened between him and Guardians, why they're no longer working together,
Right.
and then the movie starts.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen everything with the Guardians of the Galaxy in the trailers.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I don't think that they really played that much of a thing besides the beginning. They
Hmm.
may show up at the end of the movie to kind of help out a little bit more, but I really do see them as just kind of like in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, it's again Chris Pratt and Thor together, man. I would love to see something like that,
Hmm.
and it's just well, to be real with you, Al, did you know that Guardians of the Galaxy was supposed to come out before
Oh, before
Thor?
Thor,
Yeah,
then
that
COVID
was
hit,
the
and then
plan.
everything got shuffled.
It got shuffled when they had that whole thing with the director for Guardians of the Galaxy
Oh,
there.
that's right. Yes, with
So it,
James
it was
Gunn.
actually Guardians of the Galaxy was supposed to start Phase 4. It was supposed to even be before Black Widow. It was just
Oh
kind of
wow,
crazy. Yeah, so they pushed it back because of everything that was happening with what was the director's name by any chance?
James Gunn.
Yep, James Gunn. So once that stuff happened with James Gunn, where they kind of fired him for a little bit and then
Yeah,
brought him back. So it's supposed to be that Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor and then this, but then with the way that they rearranged it, now it's kind of like Thor's being dropped off kind of
yeah,
thing to his next mission or next thing.
yeah.
Oh man. So I guess Al, the only next question to do is like, what is your hopes and wishes for Thor and Love and Thunder? Like, I don't know anything about Gore the God Butcher. I stopped reading comic books by that time. So
Yeah.
Gore the God Butcher, no real knowledge of it. I heard it's a fantastic story, fantastic like thing with the villain Gore.
Yeah, I heard he's a
Um
real good villain. Yeah, I mean, in
yeah,
terms of quality, like he's a real good quality villain. So
yeah, absolutely. And with who's our Batman?
Christian Bale.
With Christian Bale playing Gore, Christian Bale for him to take on this role, it must be a good role. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like he's not going to take any old side characters. He didn't want to do comic book movies anymore after
yeah,
Batman.
yeah. No, and
So
he really prepares for these roles. So
yeah,
I'd be interested to hear the stories afterwards of what he did to prepare for this role. Other than obviously reading the comics and getting to know the character,
right,
like he really gets. I mean, physically, everything he gets into these characters. So
right. And
uh,
he is a fantastic actor. So I'm really looking forward to what he does with Gore the God Butcher.
yeah,
I mean, I guess the only other hopes again, we already talked about Beta Ray Bill. I'm honestly hoping to get a little bit more clarity of what's going on with Phase 4.
yeah,
Again, there's hints with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where Charlize Theron's character kind of like said that he broke the reality. There's an incursion, which is
hmm
those code words for Secret Wars, but it just also seems all over the place. Like, Al, honestly, what's your thoughts on Phase 4 so far? Because
I
Phase 4 to
really,
me is like just throwing
it's
shit
all
in a,
over.
yeah, it's all
Yeah,
over the place.
it's all over. I think I said this with one of the other earlier movies. Like I'm waiting for them to show their direction.
Right.
And if you're not going to give us, because I'm not sure if they've commented whether we're getting another Avengers type event
Mm-hmm.
movie, if we're gonna get a consolidation of all of the characters into another movie like we did with Endgame and Infinity War.
Right.
Because if not, then at least give us some indication. Because you have Eternals, so supposedly there's this half celestial sticking out of Earth. Is that ever going to get addressed?
Right.
And if you are going to write off a major character like Thor, let this be a good way to send him off.
Right.
Is Jane Foster or the mighty Thor being brought in to replace him? Is she going to be the new Thor for Phase 4?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope. I mean, there's a lot that I'm wanting them to explain and answer in one movie. So
Right.
I'm hoping they can, or at least give some indication, even if it's, and they can do a lot with one of their end scenes. So even if you
Mm-hmm.
just give one end scene that gives us an indication of what direction we're going in with with this next phase,
Mm-hmm.
something. Because how many movies are we in already?
Right. We've had what Black Widow,
Hmm.
Shang-Chi. We've had
No Way Home,
yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, which was fantastic.
yeah,
We
Eternals,
Eternals, and we just came from what's the one that Doctor Strange,
yeah.
Multiverse of Madness. So we're
So
like
like
five, six in.
five, six, yeah, and now this will be seven. So
Yeah, and then you got
unless
to
you,
also take account. Phase four kind of started the Disney Plus shows as well. So we got WandaVision,
yeah,
Captain America and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We
mm-hmm.
got
Loki,
Loki was in there. We have Miss Marvel going on right now. Moon Knight. The
mm-hmm.
one constant thing that I keep seeing is there's things about faith going on here,
yeah,
and what I guess what
and
people believe
deities,
in. Yeah, and it's kind of weird because it's like I guess like in Moon Knight they kind of addressed it where it's like, oh, if you believe in this, this is kind of like what you see when you die, kind of thing. So I'm wondering if they're saying that all these faiths and all these religions and deities and gods, they're all real. They're just depending on who you want to follow, but they're all real, right?
mm-hmm.
Because we have the Egyptian gods for Moon Knight, but then we have the Eternals that have all these other shit going on with those
yeah,
gods. That
yeah.
the creators.
Yeah, then another reason why I feel like they're all over the place is you have each of these gods, so to speak, that they're introducing, and you're trying to
Yeah.
explain them differently. Like you have the Asgardians
Right. Aren't
were
the Asgardians a
are
form of
Norse gods,
gods?
yeah, but they're from a distant planet. Now
Right.
you had the Eternals, where they were the gods that they originated were actually the Eternals
Right.
themselves, and again they were robots created by distant aliens.
Yeah.
But now you have in Miss Marvel, you're alluding to another dimension.
Right.
You know, those gems from another dimension, and then now you're
Hmm.
having dimensions brought in,
And
or and
isn't
universe.
Zeus supposed to be in this
Yeah,
movie? And that's that. Those aren't those
there's Greek
the
gods.
Greek
Yeah,
gods? And I'm like,
yeah,
wait, what?
yeah. And how do you explain them? Are they going to be like Asgardians? Are they supposedly just from another future, distant planet
Right.
that came to Earth at one point, and we confused them for gods?
Right. It is
You
kind
know?
of getting crazy. Because
Yeah.
then you
So
look at shows like Hawkeye and it's like, oh no, the big bad is a freaking kingpin. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
this
Which
thing
don't
really
get
is
me
all over
started.
the
I can't
place.
wait for those shows.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be nice to get some direction of where the MCU is headed.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest with you, I really feel like Phase 1, 2, and 3, more Phase 2 and 3 was like we're going towards Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where we're headed. And when it got there, it was beautiful. It was amazing how they did those movies.
Mm-hmm.
With Phase 4, it's like where are we going with this? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just want more clear direction and to kind of see like where we're headed.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about what the mutants for a year now. Still nothing with the mutants.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing rumors of the first mutant Namor going to be in Black Panther,
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda Forever,
Yeah.
but I don't know. And I mean, like again, this trailer showed different gods here because I think I saw Bast, which is the god of the Black Panther universe, which is the person who gave them the power of the
Oh,
Panther
that
gods.
flower that gives them power. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm just very confused at where the MCU is heading. And that's kind of like why I've been so like hesitant with these MCU movies lately, which is I mean, I'm dying to see them because of the experiences I've had before. So
Mm-hmm.
like, all these movies are getting the blessings of my like enthusiasm because of what they did before, not because what they're doing now. I think
Yeah.
the only thing that has gotten me like, oh my God, this is crazy, has been Spider-Man No Way Home. All those
Yeah.
other movies and even the shows have been okay. Like WandaVision was amazing, I thought. Captain and Winter Soldier or Falcon and Winter Soldier was okay. Hawkeye was okay. Miss Marvel to me still is okay. They got the last episode coming out this week, but Loki was good. I like
Yeah.
Loki as well, but I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts, Al?
Yeah. The shows, for lack of anything other than to compare them to, other than knowing they take place in the MCU, they
Right,
almost feel like they are the old. Um, what was that show? The Marvel show that was on
the one shots.
Agents of Shield,
Oh, Agents of Shield. Okay.
like where it was the MCU, but they sometimes tied them into the events of the MCU, but after the
Mm-hmm.
fact, and you never really get this true feeling that they're part of the overall story.
Right.
So other than WandaVision being brought into the Doctor Strange movie because Wanda was in both, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it really barely touched on the events of WandaVision, other than,
Right.
her making that comment and him saying, "Oh no, this has nothing to do with that," and then they move past it. So,
Gotcha.
like, if you're using 6 episode shows to build up these characters, how are you treating the events of those shows so lightly when you do bring them back into the fold?
Right.
It almost makes the shows like, other than just getting backstory, what's the point of the show? Like, I thought they were going to really give us backstory for some of these movies so that they had a better connection,
Right.
and they haven't done that so far with any of them.
No, man, they really haven't, man. But again, we got our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We're hoping for the best with Phase 4, and of course, with Thor: Love and Thunder coming out this week, we have our highest hopes in Thor, in Chris Hemsworth's biceps. We trust. So I mean, listen, guys, what's your thoughts on Chris Hemsworth Thor over these last 11, 12 years of having him as Thor? Are you guys enjoying it? Are you still looking forward to Thor's next movie? Are you going to see Thor this week? Why don't you guys give us a shout, a little comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app. Hit us up at therealfanreview@gmail.com and let us know what's your expectations for Thor: Love and Thunder coming out this week. And then, of course, guys, if you join us back next week, we will be talking about Thor: Love and Thunder, our complete review. We'll do a non-spoiler review very quickly, and then we'll go right into a spoiler review with all the details of everything we saw, what we thought. And of course, they're going to have some mid-credit scenes and post-credit scenes, so we'll talk about those as well. So listen, that's going to be us for tonight. We're going to get ourselves ready. Al, make sure you stay away from YouTube, from
Oh, I'm not touching them over
Instagram.
the next couple of
It
days,
is
kid.
that time where we shut shit down.
Yeah, I've already started seeing Thor review.
Yeah, they're Thor reviews,
Okay.
but then you got those people who got to see the thing and then they start putting out spoilers everywhere. So I am done with the internet as of tonight. So guys, you do the same to not get spoiled, because it happens every time a Marvel movie is about to come out. The spoilers come out also. So
Yeah.
again, guys, be on the lookout for spoilers. And again, hit that little subscribe button, hit that plus symbol on your podcast playlist, so that way next week when we put that podcast out, you are on top of it and you have access to our thoughts and opinions of Thor: Love and Thunder. So saying good night from here, Long Island, New York, we are the Real Fan Review. We got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
And we got myself saying good night as well. And thank you guys again for listening and for being a part of the Real Fan Review team, fans, and everything. So we'll catch you guys on the next podcast for next week, Thor: Love and Thunder review. We'll catch you on the next podcast.